Well, hello again to all the boys and girls out there in YouTube land watching Georgia Beer Reviews. Back at you today with another one, and super excited about this review, guys. This is another one of the homebrew beers that Brian, aka Thrash Metal Homebrew and Barbecue, sent me, and we're looking at his white IPA. Now, the white IPA clocks in at 6.7%. This one was brewed on January 29th of 2021. I did go back and look on his channel. I saw that he had a white IPA brew day on the 30th, but it didn't have any of the specs. I was able to give you guys all the fermentables in the uh, chocolate stout. This one wasn't able to get as much information. So all I really know is that it's 6.7% alcohol. It is a white IPA, and it was brewed in 2021, so relatively fresh. We are in May currently. All right, let's see if I can get this thing open. I don't know if I've had a homebrew IPA yet. Nothing comes to mind off the top of my head. I have to look back at my homebrew review playlist. Okay. Nice little pop. Let's give it a pour. Try to be pretty aggressive with it. As you can see, there are some nice streaming bubbles going up the glass. Not a huge head though, but a nice little frothy looking thin film of a white head. The appearance is a slightly hazy, deep yellow, light orange color. It actually looks a little bit darker on camera than it does to the naked eye. Let's get an aroma on this. Citrus, like a little bit of maybe a tangerine citrus, a little pineapple with this. One thing I noticed, you can see, you've got the weird bubbles in there. The beer doesn't smell skunked or anything like that. It's in a green bottle, but I know Brian he didn't have this like sitting out in the sunlight or anything, so I don't really know why those bubbles are looking the way they are. Typically, that's indicative of like a skunked beer, but that's definitely not the case. So I'm getting pineapple, a little tangerine, a little bit of a bready malt character, but the aroma itself is actually pretty light. There's not too much there other than a little bit of citrus and that pineapple. I wasn't expecting pineapple, to be honest, from a white IPA. There's almost like a little bit of like a cereal grain thing going on with the aroma as well. It's an interesting aroma. It smells good, but doesn't necessarily smell like an IPA. And this one, I mean, I know it was brewed back in January. So we're looking at about 4 months. So some of the hop character could have faded. It doesn't smell bad at all. It smells very pleasant. It's got those pineapple and tangerine notes with that little bit of a cereal grain characteristic. But like I said, relatively light on the aroma. So let's go ahead and get into the beer and see what we get on the palate. Cheers, guys. So definitely a little bit more hop character on the palate. This kind of has a little bit, I think some of the hops have actually faded with this. You are getting some of like a pithy, almost grapefruit or a tangerine type note. it does have a significant bitterness to it, actually. That second sip, the bitterness picked up a little bit. Some nice bready malt character in the middle of the sip. The bitterness is building as I continue to sip on it. Let's get another sip and see if that's the case, if it continues to get higher. Yeah. So the bitterness is actually getting a little bit more noticeable the more I sip on it. And it is a nice, pleasant bitterness. It's not an unnecessary medicinal type bitterness. You get the tangerine, the citric acid type notes, the fruity citrus hop notes. It is nice and bready in the middle of the sip. Some wheat bread notes are coming through. Definitely wheat bread, like Honey Nut Cheerios almost. I mentioned that cereal grain thing. It kind of translates to like a Honey Nut Cheerios type thing because there is a little bit of sweetness with it as well. The carbonation with this, unfortunately, it didn't hold up. I know with these home brews, when you bottle stuff, it tends to lose carbonation over time. This one, unlike the stout, this one pretty much has no carbonation. It did have a little bit of bubbles coming up. I was hopeful that there'd be some carbonation, but it's relatively flat. And I know that's not Brian's fault. It's just if I was drinking this fresh out of the keg, I'm sure it would be very well carbonated and nice with that prickly carbonation. I'm just not getting that with this sample. It's relatively light at 6.7%. You can definitely drink a few of these. The bitterness builds, but it's not super lingering and it's not overpowering. It's nicely balanced between the malt and the other stuff going on with this beer. And it's got a little bit of that Honey Nut Cheerios type grainy note and a little bit of sweetness, almost like a honey sweetness. It's very enjoyable. I think this is a very well-made IPA. I wish that I could have tried this like super fresh. I know it would have been better because the carbonation has pretty much completely gone away. It's almost completely flat. So I'm going to be honest with the review, and I know the carbonation is not your fault, Brian, but I'm going to take all of that into account for the overall rating of this particular sample of your white IPA, and I'm going to give it a 92 out of 100. It's an A beer, definitely. It's got all the flavor notes. I know the hop character seems to have faded a little bit. I could just tell. And, of course, that carbonation is no longer there. But it's a great beer. The alcohol is masked well. It's smooth. It's easy drinking. It's got nice hop character. It's got nice malt character. It's got that little bit of like a honey sweet type note to it. And it's a very enjoyable beer. I'm really glad you sent it to me. And this one actually made it. You tried to send me a white IPA before, and it did not make it. It shattered. It was completely destroyed in the last beer mail you sent me. So I'm very happy that all of the beers made it safe and sound. I'm really enjoying this one. I can tell that it was made with care, and it's got great character. I just wish that the carbonation had held up, and some of the hops I feel like have maybe faded. It's still getting a lot of the hop character, but I feel like maybe it's faded just a little bit. But an excellent beer nonetheless. If Brian is kind enough to send you any of his home brews, you should be very grateful. But this white IPA is very enjoyable, and I've noticed all of the beers. Well, Brian and Bumpy has sent me some homebrew beers. These higher ABV beers, you guys do a great job with masking the alcohol. That's not always the case with some of these. You go to the store, you can get a, I don't know, like a Schlitz malt liquor or something like that that's not even super high gravity, and you can taste the alcohol in it. This stuff here, 6.7, 7.5 for the chocolate stout. I mean, there's just no alcohol presence, which to me is indicative of a quality brew because alcohol is not something that is easily masked. You have to do a good job with the brewing process in order to get that accomplished. And anyway, I digress. This is another long-winded review. Sorry about that, but I wanted to make sure that I covered everything, especially since this is a home brew, and I wanted to do it justice. So thank you so much to Brian a.k.a. Thrash Metal Homebrew and Barbecue. Check out link for his channel in the description below. If you haven't already, definitely sub him up. Tell him John and Ellie sent you. He's a great guy. He does awesome homebrew videos, beer reviews, barbecue stuff, and he's big into the large animal rescue, which is near and dear to my heart. Just, I mean, if you don't like animals, we can't be friends, right? So that'll do it for this beer review, guys. Hope everybody out there is having a wonderful day. Go check out Brian's channel. Like I said, you can, well, there it is. You can click on his icon right there as well and go directly to his channel that way. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day, and until next time, cheers, everybody.